Hello, hello. This is EUROSTUDENT Talks again after a short summer break for a couple of months. I am still Marlene, and this is still EUROSTUDENT Talks, as I said, and I'm very glad to start with our so-called autumn season. And I'm also very happy to see that you are all here back with us, so we can continue with our webinar series. As we advertised, today our focus will be on higher education resilience, how to cope in crisis, and we're going to talk about it with a focus on Ukraine and the situation in Ukrainian higher education system. Mm, Last week, I heard an interview in Estonian media with our former defense chief, Martin Herem, who had visited Ukraine some days ago and who described the situation, saying that, of course, it is difficult. Of course, there are challenges, but life is going on and it has to go on. People are building their new private houses, even rather close to the front line. There are families with kids at the playgrounds in the evening. Because kids have to socialize, people have to socialize, and you have to keep it as normal as possible, although maybe there are bomb shelters next to the playgrounds so that you can hide if needed, but otherwise you just try to live as normal as possible. And that's why today we are also going to, of course, cover the challenges and difficulties that Ukrainian higher education institutions and students are facing. But mostly we are trying to turn our eyes to the changes and the adaptations that have been made and talk about the resilience and how to keep going despite of the war and despite of the difficult situation. And of course, what we could learn from that kind of hard situations ourselves in other countries. To cover this topic today, I have here two students from Ukraine, Victoria Hermanchuk, who studies business economics at Kiev School of Economics, KSE. She is acting head of the student government in this institution and also head of the KSE Student EU Club. In addition, Victoria is representative of the Ukrainian Association of Students. And secondly, our second speaker, Vladimir Siryaha, is a PhD student in international relations, public communications, and regional studies, and a specialist at the International Relations Office of West Ukrainian National University. He is also a member of the Executive Committee of the Ukrainian Association of Students, being responsible for international affairs. So, hello, Victoria. Hello, Vladimir.
Hello.
Greetings to everyone.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy that we managed to invite you here and organize the webinar and that you agreed to join us. Before we move on to the challenges and new changes and everything, I can imagine that not all of our listeners are very familiar to Ukrainian higher education system. So maybe we can try to give them a bit of context. And just maybe you can very shortly give an overview about the higher education sector in Ukraine. How many students, how many higher education institutions are there? Maybe a couple of facts, just that we know how big is the system, what we're talking about.
Okay, greetings everyone one more time. I will give short overview on higher education sector in Ukraine. And I want to begin with small introduction and to connect like children that are now going to school to start the topic from this part. And I want to share some data and some analytics that could be like useful for you to have this overview of how pupils are preparing for the university and quite connected this topic is with higher education. So now in Ukraine, each eight pupils out of 10 are thinking about their profession and thinking about their future career. And it's quite great to know because It's also the studies show that a lot of students and a lot of pupils are having a lot and great personality that is connected with empathy and motivation. So our pupils that are now studying at schools and having their like final lessons, final grades, they are really motivated to study and they are really motivated to have their career and they are actively thinking about this. So this is like this connection why a lot of Ukrainian pupils actually go into the university. And now we're having this amount of students that are actually studying now on different higher educational levels. It's almost 1,077,000 of students that are reaching their bachelor degree, master's, professor, and all the levels. It's like you can imagine that there's huge amount of students now actually studying in these difficult times and studying in different types of universities. So in general, in Ukraine, there are 633 different universities and institutions that are giving higher education. So it's huge amount of them, but as well after 2022, almost 100 of them were injured or like were somehow destroyed. And this situation gives us a lot of challenges that we need to face because we have the situation that we have 1 million students who want to reach their degree, who want to more about this world, and we have these challenges how to give the best opportunities for them, how to be studying offline, not continue studying in online because a lot of countries face this online studying while being in COVID situation. But in Ukraine, the situation is continuing in a lot of universities. It's more popular in state universities because we continue studying online while not sometimes having great underground places to study when it's air alerts, and a lot of universities are really damaged now. So we have this big challenge how to have this stable educational opportunities and how to provide this level that should be like given to the students to have this education. Also, I want to share some insights of what actually students want to study in Ukraine. And as it was collected this data, and we have the most recent like information what students want to study now. The first one is the law. Secondly, they want to study management. Thirdly, it's psychology. Fourth, it's to be like in teaching. And the fourth one is IT and computer science. And Lucia, you're saying something or not? No? Okay, sorry. So in general, this is like these five sectors that are really important now in Ukraine. And a lot of students actually now finding this connection between what they want to study and how to connect their future degree to be more important for the country. I am, for example, a student of private universities, so I can speak more today about the situation in private universities, and Volodymyr would tell more about state university situation. But what I can have, like from my perspective, it's that a lot of students actually go into law, for example, to be really important in future, to have this Euro integration process, to have this like actually law will be working in Ukraine and in the world to do something with that. A lot of people are trying now to go to engineering, to IT sector, to be connected somehow with military stuff, with drone creation, and this as well working with psychology. In Ukraine, really, it's a really popular program to reach and to study its psychology. And now it's really important because we have the situation that a lot of veterans and guys and women who are coming back from frontline, they need some psychological support. So I want to say and to like highlight this that now in higher education sector in Ukraine, it really matters what you will do in future for your country and for your society, for your family, and it's kind of more connection with your importance to be really valuable in your career, not just reaching some materialism views to reach some great salary or to move abroad or to something like that. So we are now really focusing on such things. And the last point that I want to mention, that maybe it could be also interesting for you, that it is visible that a lot of Ukrainian students and a lot of Ukrainian pupils are moving abroad. This is also one of the biggest challenges that we are facing now. So after 2022, during this almost 4 years, it's like the statistic by Eurostat that approximately 1 million children that are aged under 18 are now considering like to be abroad with their families or with their mothers or in any case. So we are having the situation that 1 million potential students that will be like going to universities abroad are now somewhere in the world, in Europe, or just going somewhere. And this is really big challenge to Ukraine, to make some changes in our educational system, to invite students from abroad to come back to Ukraine and not to lose this potential of brain drain and all this stuff. So now we're having this situation and we're trying to do all our best to change something. But as well, as I said before, we have some challenges that are facing with infrastructure, where the students will study, in what universities, will we have enough space in underground, and so on. So having this like rising up this question for the future, I will give the microphone to Vladimir to highlight some additional points.
Actually, you've mentioned pretty much everything. All I wanted to give is just a bit of a structure for colleagues online. Structure in understanding how higher education works in Ukraine, because basically it's the same type of levels that there are in Europe. We also have bachelor degree, master's degree, PhD. Before that, before bachelor degree, we have actually specialist or junior bachelor degrees, which are provided by the VAT institutions, so professional training. And in general, what I wanted to say as well is we have a lot of challenges in higher educational institutions, which is actually connected to the full-scale invasion of Russia. But nevertheless, one of the biggest challenges that are faced by approximately 35 or something higher educational institutions and probably 80 VAT institutions, that they are relocated and they are now on different soils, let's say, metaphorically, but they have been relocated to different cities all around Ukraine due to the fact that they can't stay in the same region or they can't go completely online. They have to have administrative building, or they probably want to bring back the offline education. Yes, so they are relocated. Some of them are doing extremely well. Some are still doing an online format due to the amount of funding they receive, which is not sufficient enough. But yes, and one more thing, Victoria mentioned that we are trying to go offline completely. Of course, that's not possible in all the regions. So some regions which are closer to the front line or to the borderline with Russia and Belarus, usually they are having a studying process online, or at least in a mixed format. Everyone else are trying to go offline completely, but in case it's a bit more dangerous, they can be in a also mixed format. For example, lectures are being held online and practical courses are being held offline in the classrooms. So that's, I think, a general understanding of different aspects of higher education. Maybe if you have some specific questions or something else that was that raised the question during our speeches, Please.
I think, at least for me, you very nicely covered the context and what we are actually talking about very generally. But you already mentioned one of the challenges, the relocation, and actually challenges is like the first bigger part I wanted to touch upon during our webinar, that what have been the challenges faced both by students and higher education institutions during the war. So maybe you can describe those a bit as well, besides this relocation, of course.
Okay, I will also start about actually infrastructure challenges. So I will just give some cases how it could be like going in Ukraine now. So imagine that you are having full-scale invasion and you need to study somehow. So your institution or university is not actually now studying offline and you are connecting somehow online. And while reaching this online format and trying to connect your life with air alerts, bombing, shelters, and all this stuff, you need to somehow connect to your lessons or all this stuff to be like engaged in the educational process. But with it, it's come down that a lot of lights sometimes disappear because you have some like black regime or something like that, or you just have some attacks on your infrastructure that is connected with electricity and you just even don't have this online connection. So it was like really bad situation at the beginning of full-scale invasion, and it was the biggest challenge for universities to actually even try to have this online formats. Sometimes it's where like not this dialogue about having offline formats of studying. So a lot of universities managed to do somehow. They connected to some additional sources of electricity to maintain somehow in this process. A lot of students were like studying at some cafes or some shops where it was like some generators producing electricity, and we were like kind of studying like in some catastrophe or in some horror movie, but yeah, it was quite challenging, and still some institutions are facing with this problem still like till these days. But nevertheless, some of the institutions managed to find some connections to have these generators and campuses, and mostly it's better situation in private university that are can relocate their funds or to manage something with their financial support from investors or from some scholarships or something like that. So to have this offline format, and I was lucky enough to be in the university that was the first one that like opened their doors in offline format. And really, I'm really lucky to have this student life, to have this connection, to have this communication with my peers, and I'm really glad that I have this situation. But after, like for example, winter, it come up that it's some problems with heat, with just having this as well offline studying. So we like just come up with how to have this electricity, but we are coming to the winter, and winter is showing that we have some even difficulties to have heat in our universities. So after this problem, we managed something with heat and to have like just studying offline. And after, I suppose, maybe 1 year of full-scale invasion, a lot of universities started to maintain like partially offline studying or like going to the campuses. And there were a lot of programs to maintain underground and the shelters, campaigns to have this like spaces for students to be underground if it's air alert, to maintain somehow this offline format. And it was like one of the biggest, I suppose, challenges universities and higher education faced, because from the one side we have students who want to have this education in Ukraine and they stayed and they made this decision to stay even with this boys and cross borders, even with maybe some financial challenges of their families, but they managed to stay in Ukraine, and universities were like really motivated to provide this educational system for them. So moving to like second challenge that I can mention, that this is like migration, not just of pupils and children and students. It's also big migration of scientists, of lecturers, of like professors. So from the one side, we're having students that want to have this knowledge, but from the other side, we understand that, for example, some teachers or like lecturers have some financial support in foreign universities, and they just move abroad. And now we're facing also this reforms to maintain better financial support of scientists, to maintain like bigger financial support on scientific and science institutions, just to maintain science going on in Ukraine. And it was our, I suppose, second challenge, to have this stable connection with lectures and with science people. And the third one, it's of course, I suppose that it's like the biggest challenges that we're facing, even not depending on what university and in which university we're studying. It's mental difficulties, because when you're studying in all like nervous situation, every time it's like air alerts and you're going to the shelter almost every day. And I don't know, you can bury your friend because your friend at the age of 18 went to the army and managed to have their value to the front line, and it's really complicated for you just to go to the lessons, have fun, and have the student life. So I suppose for me and for a lot of like students in Ukraine now, it's facing this psychological aspect of staying in like great psychological mental health. I don't know how to formulate this, but it's, I suppose, one of also the biggest challenges that our lecturers are now facing on. So each morning, for example, when it was at the night air alert, it's really like difficult to maintain this process, because everybody were not sleeping at night, everybody is a little bit like nervous and have some maybe bad moods. And even in this, under these conditions, you need to like concentrate on your material, you need to concentrate on how to I don't know, write your research, even having some like personal background. So I suppose this is like the biggest challenges now we're facing. But from the other side, these challenges make us to think about how we could deal with these challenges. And it's really the biggest motivator for students and for the country, for governments, to do something with these challenges. And in this question, I'm really optimist, I suppose, because I have this chance to be included in some student organizations, student clubs, students something. And I see how students, like generally just students, could influence and could do something to manage these challenges. So students now are part of some working groups that are going to like fields and researching something, trying to have this like adaptation of process, trying to collect some info and to give some advices even to the government what to do with this stuff, how to manage this online studying better, how to have some, I don't know, gamification in schools to have this connection with like students, with pupils. And I think that from these challenges now Ukrainians gain a lot of even like great things, and a lot of changes in our educational system are done because of these challenges. And now we're going to like some even adaptation, but I suppose this adaptation of processes will be really beneficial even for other countries that are trying to face maybe some similar problems, or that are now thinking potential of some problems it could be. And it will be like really great lesson to take from Ukrainians what we done in our situation, to have this like the same lessons in other countries, for example. So here I will also give some micro to Volodymyr to add something from the point of state universities, and maybe to like broader some connections with state education.
Thank you, Victoria. So while you were talking about air raids and everything, I also remembered one more challenge that is really, really pissing me off almost each day, that we face in the western parts of Ukraine, which is relatively calm due to air raids and everything. We don't have a front line, but what we have is, let's say, often reports of mining a specific building. So sometimes we receive a letter, or sometimes police comes and say that we have an information that your building has a bomb or a potential threat. So you have to evacuate everybody, and we have to search the quarters. basically, usually, like 98% of the time, it's a headquarters, so the main building of the university where I work and study. So work and study process is being disrupted almost each day. We have really often this kind of information. Sometimes we even laugh saying that, where's the information about mining? I want to go and have a lunch because it takes for about an hour. So that's also about kind of an adaptation to the situation, because even in these worrying times of mining building of the university, you are trying to stay resilient and looking for something good. I would go and have a coffee. I would go and have a lunch or something. Talking about the structure of higher education as a state university, what we faced is a bit something that changed our processes on how we usually operate. So, for example, when it comes to the quality assurance, we have our National Agency for Quality Assurance making a decision back in 2022 to, let's say, to give a certificate of quality to a specific study program, and going through the process of quality assurance completely online. So before that, we had an offline group of people coming to the university and having all these meetings, reports, and everything in an offline format. So it took some time to change to the online format, but of course, after the COVID-19, we were basically ready for such things. Because as far as I know, private universities are using the international quality assurance systems. So it's online based anyway. Yeah. Also, I don't know how and why, but we've changed our say relation to everything. So if someone needs a document or some problem is arising, now it's not that big of a problem, because we don't really care about some operational stuff that can be handled really relatively easily sometimes even. But generally, if we have a problem right now, what we face is the mind resilience. I don't know. So we have a different view perspective on things. And because of that, I believe our digital transformation or operational transformation has really gone through a lot, and we've fastened it like 10 times. Even like a couple of days ago, head of one of the departments that is operating the documents on the university's level, she says, well, we don't handle paper copies anymore. We can't give you a copy. Go find it in the system. And I'm like, wait, what? System? Really? Only a system? Okay, so the time has come. And if we are talking about some challenges that we faced as the state institution, is let's say safe spaces in the university where you should be hiding from all the air raids and everything, because some universities were built in Soviet times, so they had shelters, but some modern buildings didn't have those. So we were looking for funding from our country to have to make it possible to create a safe space with at least somewhere to sit, some possibilities to connect to Wi-Fi, because usually it's underground and the general mobile connection doesn't work. So some projects were created for such things in different regions, and we were working with that as much as we could. And as far as I know, a lot of universities has transformed so dramatically, especially near the borderline and front line, that they have an underground university completely, or underground schools. Especially in Kyiv region, I believe a lot of underground schools are being built and developed. Universities are a bit less proactive in that type of field, but nevertheless, we still have some examples of such things.
I want to have some interaction here, sorry, about underground, because even like repeating myself, I'm studying private university, and in our university, it planned to be gym in the underground. But when everything come up, our university done this decision to make these underground classes. And if you are interested in, this is, I'm sitting like in underground, and here is our like space for studying. So if this air alert starts, we're going here, and we're having this like camera that is going on, yeah, and recording all the stuff. We have all the things. But really, I'm really lucky that we have this situation and we have this format of studying. So if the air alert is starting, we're moving in 1 minute to the underground. And if, for example, somebody is like just going to the university or missing some lessons, they can rewatch these video recordings. But like repeating, it's one of the cases or some best like practices, but it's like not the case on huge like state universities, because like our universities maybe 1,000 students, maybe like 1.5, but if it's like state university where it's like I don't know almost 20,000 of students are now on the campus, it's really complicated to have this underground shelter and to have this like continuing process of studying. And I suppose this is now the biggest challenge now, like to sum up this point of challenges, I suppose this is the biggest.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we definitely should move on with adaptations and changes and resilience. And you already mentioned some of the things, but before we do it, I'm just asking our listeners that do you have any questions about the challenges or the topics that we have covered so far? Are there any questions either in the chat? You can write them, or you can just raise your hand and let us know.
I see one question about internet connection and infrastructure issues in Ukraine. I can answer it easily. So now we are having better situation that we had in the beginning of full-scale invasion, because when we had these problems with electricity and connecting to generators, and it was like some blackouts in whole region, it could be like several days without any electricity at all, and we managed to have some batteries, to have some lights from some telephones, to have this like adapters or all this stuff, and so we've come up like better. But now it's quite all right, I suppose. I can just say that in most regions it's better situation, and it's also like pleasure that a lot of companies now trying to do something and to test something, because a few months ago it was some like news that in Ukraine it's will be the first testing of project that some people can download or change your phone, and your phone will be something like a Starlink. So your phone become like pushing some buttons on your phone, and your phone can connect like directly to the Starlink to like your Elon Musk stuff. And I suppose that it's really great opportunity now for the soldiers and for even students to test this in different regions. So yeah, now we are having this situation.
Yeah, there is also another question that any AI plans or policies in Ukrainian universities?
I believe I can answer that. So generally, right now, the AI situation is so I don't know how to put it diplomatically, but we don't really recognize AI as a helping mechanism in state universities, Victoria, in state universities. So AI is being considered something more of a cheating instrument rather than helping instrument. At some point, but okay, I will structure it a bit differently. A helping mechanism, AI is a helping mechanism when we're talking about lectures and practical lessons that we are having, but not on some papers like essays or thesis or I don't know, for example, an article to the scientific journal. So that is considered more cheating rather than helping. Or if you have like a, I don't know, possibility to have an experiment with AI and it's actually a topic of your research, then it's okay. So it's a bit of the thin ice in the state universities. But in general, we sometimes use AI just to help us have a lesson or practical as a practical instrument to, for example, discuss something or to develop a structure where we that can be a starting point and then dwell on it. So sometimes we use it, sometimes not. But I don't think that there's a specific policy on the state level. At least I don't remember. Maybe Victoria can.
And of course, I can imagine that in everywhere else, maybe these policies are being created more quickly because we don't have so big other challenges that we have to deal with at the same time, like relocating our institutions or like trying to figure out how to teach online if there are some infrastructure and connection issues as well. But Victoria wants to comment as well, so please.
Yeah, I really want to comment because today we have really pleasure to have this contrast of private and state universities in Ukraine. And if you're talking about my university, we have almost like for 2 years now a new program at bachelor level that is like completely artificial intelligence, and people now studying how to maintain like own models. And we have like generally like one bachelor program that is connected with this. And at the same time, our professors and our lecturers and like all the assistants and all like faculty now is integrating AI really actively and on different levels, or for example to check some home tasks or to ask students to train with AI some topics, to ask AI to ask some questions to the students. And for example, if we're using some AI, we have some AI integration and AI tools that we can use in courses. Or for example, if we're having courses that's from programming, like now pupils and students and like faculty is more concentrated on how good prompt you can give to the AI, not to write code like by your hands, but they will check the quality of your prompt, or how you can interpret the results of this code, or how you can use this AI not just to cheat or to make your like process of studying easier, but how you can make this better process. So even on some management courses now is going like discussing that, for example, AI will definitely like take some professions out of the market. So we are trying to make this like efforts on that professions and on that skills that will be like definitely not changed by AI. And even this year, it was one interesting program and project that our rector, he is a psychologist. So he is like now creating one course that will be almost generated with AI. So next year, the students will check how it works. So it will be the first course that was like developed by AI, and our rector and president now are testing this situation, how it's actually working. And I really want to add that now I'm also working at the KC institution. So on different levels, our people who are like working in the university use AI for some meetings, for some translation, for some prompts, and in private universities, it's maybe more like faster way of developing this stuff and integrating. So I am really like into the discussion, and if somebody is really interested about how we can make these policies working, we can like have some connection afterwards because I can speak a lot about how we can integrate AI in university, in courses, even in student government. So it's really actively using now in my university, for example.
Very interesting. But I think it's a good point where we can move to innovation, and that would be my question as well. That regarding the changes and adaptations that have been made, has there been any innovation, for example, that was unexpected even maybe, but that was changed, and now you realize that actually this could or should continue even after the war is over, maybe at one day, that something that has been changed and in a positive way, so that It is an innovation, and we should keep going like that because it's better than it was before.
So I'm gonna start on that block. Some changes we have already covered by adapting the curricula to completely online format, or a mixed format, or being all offline, but nevertheless having some troubles with error rate or the fun.
Less bureaucracy, as you said.
Yeah, less bureaucracy and everything. But in my humble opinion, what is the most influential, or what I can see as the biggest change, is that youth has become a driving force. Not completely, not like 100%, but youth gained power. We can see that on different levels, not only in higher education, but also on a regional or state level. There are different governmental or non-governmental bodies that are completely out of youth, and they are working on developing new policies, on new approaches, changes, and everything. It has become a really great thing to educate young experts to work at the National Agency for Quality Assurance of Ukraine. And for example, our association, Ukrainian Association of Students, actually educates young students of bachelor and master's level to attend some courses that we've developed together with NAQA, and they are becoming a new driving force in the higher education. And they are actually, I've seen some, let's say, examples when young people are actually saying that, no, that's not how it's supposed to work. That's not proper communication with the student governmental bodies in the university. Let's change that. I won't give you a good mark on that point. So that's something you need to work on in the future. Also, if we're talking about the quality assurance, right now we had a testing, let's say we had a small testing period of 3 universities that were going through the general quality assurance of the whole university, not a specific program, which was together with the international experts and our national experts. And I believe 3 universities had the possibility to go through that. I know for sure that one was a success. Maybe, no, 2 were a success for sure. I don't know the information about the third one. Didn't have the possibility to Google it, to be honest. Yeah. What else? Our international relations have exploded through the roof. To be honest, I have never seen so many international partners coming to higher educational institutions in Ukraine and creating some beneficial projects. Honestly, I work in the International Relations Office, and the amount of, let's say, possibilities to work with different universities from all around Europe, and sometimes even US, Canada, Africa even, are growing each day, and I can see that very good. One more adaptation that is really crucial, at least in state university, it has become a thing. As they say, so Victoria was talking about the mental issues and mental health as the problem that we are facing, the challenge that we have to overcome. So, for example, I can say on the basis of my university, and such practices are all over the state universities. I'm not really sure how it works in private, but I believe Victoria might have a thought about that. So we have a center that is about psychological support and resilience. So it's something like a psychological help, but additionally, they provide courses on mental stability, mental health, and they are educating future experts that can work, for for example, in the police or I don't know, some external bodies that are working with those who were injured, those who were internally displaced, or something like that. So we even have a project. We had the possibility to win an Erasmus project that is called the University's Reaction to Big Obstructions. So we are right now working with internally displaced people and providing these trainings on entrepreneurship so they could regain their confidence and start their entrepreneur activity in our region prior to what they had in their regions. Also, talking about Erasmus Plus, that's not really an adaptation from our side, but from the European Commission with the help of European Students' Union. So together, I don't really know the history of how it worked because I wasn't connected with ESO at the time, but all the funds from Russian and Belarus partners in the projects under the Erasmus Plus program and other relevant programs that are being looked over by European Commission were transferred to Ukrainian partners, Ukrainian institutions. A lot of academic mobilities have opened up rapidly for us. And considering what we had in 2021 to 2022, the amount of students and staff that went on an academic mobility has grown like in dozens. Because a lot of people that were going on a mobility were from those regions, Belarus and Russian Federation. So that's also one good thing that helped us develop rapidly because our, for example, staff went to European universities, they saw some practices or approaches and they took it over and brought it here, as we say, internationalization at home. And we've developed new approaches, new views, even in some educational processes. So how we are delivering lectures or providing a practical aspect of the lesson. I'm giving the floor to Victoria from the private university perspective.
Yeah, I want to highlight one more strength and what we come up after this full-scale invasion, and could be like our one of the biggest decisions during this year. It's partially connected with university, but is mainly connected with school system. Maybe some of you heard about our project and this digitalization of state program. So we have this DIA app. So this is like all your documents, all the stuff that is like on your phone. And this is like actually really great progress we're doing now. And this app is one of the biggest digital tools of state level program. So now the same team that were conducting DIA project, they are doing the same app for schools. It will be called Maria. In Ukrainian, it's called like Dream. This is like the app that is made to highlight this, that every country now had this problem that pupils are more concentrated on video scrolling on some social media, and their concentration on educational level it's really low, and teachers are having this problem to have this concentration during this 45 minutes of your lesson, to have this connection with an engagement of your pupils. And now this team of Minister of Digital Transformation in Ukraine, they launching this app for schools, and during the next months, now a lot of schools in Ukraine will be joined to this program. So it will be like the app in your smartphone, where each student and each pupil will have the marks, home tasks, some AI-generated content, during your studying in school and what lessons you have. It will be some tests in the smartphone, and you can reach some points. And these points, there are a lot of connections with Ukrainian businesses. So, for example, if you reach some level of points, you can have 2 tickets to cinema. So students and pupils will be really motivated to have these points, to maintain great marks, to have great results on lessons. And this is done to motivate pupils to be like more engaged in the educational process. And now we are launching this app. We are really willing to have the same thing for universities, and I suppose it will be like next step for this team to maintain the same program for universities. And if you're interested, you can just Google Maria app in Ukraine and search more about how it's going on. But also, I have really great question connected with communication channels the students have with governmental bodies in the chat. A really nice question, and I appreciate and I want to answer it. So I feel that students have tight connections with governmental bodies. So I can share like my own case. So I am going now in internship program in KSE Institute. It's one part of my university of the structure, but at the same time, it's one of the biggest think tanks, analytical think tanks in Ukraine. And for example, if you hear some statistics about sanctions that should be conducted to Russia, and you heard some numbers that are connected with sanctions in Ukraine and Russia, 99% that these analytical materials are done by this institution and by our team. So now I'm joining like this program as well. So during this internship, I'm also connecting to the team of Prime Minister of Ukraine. So I have really like tight connection with governmental body now, and I can say that I can even influence some programs or reforms because I can have this like immediate feedback what is going on in Ukrainian universities, institutions, and this like feedback actually is taken in like consideration, and I actually see how, for example, I can influence some reforms or law projects or something else. So in this level, I can say that in Ukraine, it's really developed this program of internship, of working part-time in governmental institutions, not even just in Prime Minister team, but in a lot of ministers. It's really active, gaining some youth bodies near some ministers, yeah. And so during these programs, students can influence such progress, and they can influence some problems, and they can have this tight connection, some events organized by some webinars, seminars, and all this stuff. And youth in Ukraine now have this also responsibility. So we are like kind of also responsible for how our educational process is held, and we can influence that. And a lot of universities now, even state or not state, like generally have this feedback rules. So students give actual immediate feedback in different formats, like just to say something to a teacher or to write anonymous feedback somewhere, and universities actually reacting on this. So if you have some problems with like, I don't know, bullying or something like that, it's immediately being solved because this is like integrating of this feedback process in universities. And I suppose that this communication is going on through the level of university, like just your student and faculty. But at the same time, if you're like part of some student organizations or part of internships, you can be like also communicating to like broader audience, to governmental bodies, and all of stuff. And do you consider these channels working effectively? I suppose yes, because I'm like actually seeing how these processes are held. And if there are a collaboration among the universities themselves, of course, it's like really now important to change some feedbacks like from university to university. And we have Alliance of Ukrainian University. And now this Alliance is cooperating with Civica, for example, with other institutions, and we're actively engaged in different alliances all over Europe or like broader audience. And there are a lot of collaborations among universities themselves. And even students can cooperate within like student organizations and to maintain some exchange programs. And it's really like actively now engaging because now we have like more possibilities to exchange within like different regions, and now it's like easier for students because we have some allowances for that. So there are a lot of projects where, for example, universities in one region are cooperating with themselves on state levels, on private university levels, and it's really, now I can see that this last year was, I suppose, one of the most like active in this collaboration among universities, because, for example, private universities can share how they manage some problems with online offline studies. State universities can share some feedback of having, like, I don't know, amount of students, really huge amount of students, how can they deal and adapt some processes for big amount of students. So I suppose that I covered these questions. So maybe another ones, if you have.
I have something to add on what you have said already. So, talking about us as the Ukrainian Association of Students, we also work with governmental bodies really tightly, especially with the Ministry of Education and Science, with the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and with the Committee of Verkhovna Rada, which is our parliament, but it doesn't translate as a parliament, it translates as Verkhovna Rada. So we cooperate with all those people, and we are also trying to cooperate with the Prime Minister, and we also work with the President Fund Foundation, or is it just President Fund? I don't remember the proper name, sorry. So we, as the National Students Organization, we represent a lot of university student bodies, and we create possibilities to talk with the ministry representatives. So, for example, we had a couple of meetings with the vice ministers for education and science. I believe there were 3 or 4 in the past 1.5 years. Also, we create meetings with all those people for ourselves, as we are something like a driving force that are listening to our student organizations that are a part of our association. We discuss it internally, and then we proceed with different approaches, different ideas to the ministry, to the committee of the parliament, and to other relevant bodies. Sometimes ministries, for example, Ministry of Youth, is giving us the possibility to apply for a project, and we did apply twice and had the possibility to fund our initiative. One with the Polish Union of Students and another one with the Lithuanian Union of Students. That was called a Dialogue of Students Unity. So representatives from Poland and Lithuania in 2 different years, 2023 and 2024, came to Ukraine and experienced how it is for a student to live in the times of war here in Ukraine. Also, considering the communication with the governmental bodies, each governmental body usually, or they are trying to create more of this, they have advisory bodies. And those advisory bodies are consisting of youth, usually from 16 to 35, around that, or they have a student advisory body. So the connection is, there are lots of points of connection, but the effectiveness actually depends on the specific body, specific ministry, depends on how the head of this ministry or body is operating in general. But as I said, he has gained a lot of power in the recent years after the full-scale invasion. And also collaboration about the universities, I also can say about that, because usually how state universities are cooperating is either within the region, what Victoria said, or usually what I encounter the most, it's in international projects, because you have to have, for example, 5 universities from Ukraine to participate in some specific call. And we are like, so which university do I know from different regions? One in Lviv Oblast, one in Ternopil, one in Kyiv, and other regions. We are developing a network of communication. We're taking everyone together. We're going to each other for some, I don't know, meetings, conferences. Of course, it's a really pity that our international partners are not that willing to come to Ukraine due to the fact of the full-scale invasion, and because of some countries have regulations that prohibit to come to Ukraine. But nevertheless, collaboration among universities in the region, it's usually a person-to-person contact. And on the national level, it's sometimes rector is going to another rector and saying, I have a group of guys who can work with you on some specific projects. Do you have such a group of guys? We can connect them and let them work. So, and of course, there are different initiatives that actually, as Victoria said, they are grouping the universities together. And when Victoria was talking about working with the universities, I remembered one more challenge that we are facing right now in the higher education. It's how should I say it properly? So we have a combination of two universities, for example. So they are creating a new structure. So we have a new strategy which was developed in 2024, 2023, and started implementing in 2024. I don't remember. You've heard the amount of universities and general higher educational institutions that we have in Ukraine. You might think that where are we finding money for such many universities or VETs or any other institutions that are in the system? So basically, there are not enough money, I can say, as the state university employee. So the new strategy is implying to group a couple of universities in different regions to create less universities, but with the same capabilities, same staff, but under one funding opportunity. And the situation is really relevant from case to case because it's really hard to combine two different universities, even if they have the same fields they educate students in. But nevertheless, sometimes it's just personal, sometimes it's due to the strategy, sometimes. So there are a lot of challenges just in this one challenge. Mm-hmm. So it's really like a scale of things we have to encounter. But nevertheless, the plan is to decrease the amount of university as the body. I don't know the proper term. I believe up to 200 or something like that. So around 100 universities has to be collided with another university. I'm still waiting who is going to be our partner in crime in my region, but let's see. So yeah, that's one more challenge.
Yeah, it is really, really interesting, and I'm very happy to hear that the student voice is loud and it's actually being listened to. I can imagine that we could keep going for another hour easily because it's really very, very interesting to hear how is the situation there and how you are adapting and what are the innovations. But we have to wrap it up very soon in a couple of minutes because we are already 5 minutes over time. But my very last question to you would be very shortly about the lessons learned. If you think about broader takeaways for other countries as well, what would you say, not only in the context of war, but also like in crisis, let's say infrastructure catastrophes, natural disasters, whatever? How can higher education resilience be ensured in times of crisis? Based on your experience, what would you say?
I can start on this because I believe I have a general understanding of different types of policies that different countries have due to my PhD degree that I'm trying to obtain and my activity and connecting with different universities all around Europe. So first of all, I think that we should go Swedish, let's say, or Switzerland, sorry. Switzerland, we have to get their policy on having shelters because honestly, the amount of shelters they have can protect you from any types of wars, natural disasters, and some things that are not even considered right now. So they are really developed in their infrastructure. They have a lot of provisions in those shelters, and they are maintaining them up to code. And it's a law. You can't deny it. You can't overcome it or do anything with that. So that's one thing. Another thing which is really gaining pace in Ukraine is crisis management. Crisis management is something that we've encountered and learned on practice by living through some crisis times. But nevertheless, right now we have some curricula that are created in crisis management. Which is really, really important on how to make decisions, how to operate in different types of events, even if it's not a natural disaster or a war situation. Anyway, there are some stressful situations that you just need to act. And generally, I don't know, the adaptability says it all, because we are adapting each and every day. Sometimes even a couple of times a day. You need a new document that you've never heard before. Not a problem. Give me 5 minutes. I'll research some European practices and Ukrainian practices, and I'll create a document on my own. I can ask ChatGPT. We do work with ChatGPT. Not everything is so bad with AI in state universities. We do use them, but there are some specific prohibitions on the scientific level. So adaptability is the key in the modern world in general, because you see that the policies, the leaders of the countries are changing, their views are changing, and I'm not pointing to any country or someone specific. It's just the general policies these days. So adapting to the challenges and finding a creative way to go through this, and not only infrastructurally but mentally, in the legislation, in everything. That's basically what Ukrainians are. We're just adapting each and every time.
Yes, last minute phrase for Victoria as well, maybe if you want to add anything about lessons learned.
Yeah, I suppose that I will sum it up with some like kind of advice, because from Ukrainian perspective, and being a student in Ukraine now, it's really complicated, difficult, challenging, and all these words. But at the same time, I feel really big motivation to do all the stuff that I'm doing. So I really advise everybody of you, and I am really sure that everybody of you is doing some great stuff at your work, at your studying, anywhere. So just keep going and put some, I don't know, motivation, some value to the things that you're doing, because without this value and without knowing why are you actually doing that, it's not that important, I suppose. It's if you're doing some running in the morning, just know why are you running, for what you're running. And I can have like a lot of cases or example of this stuff, but actually doing some valuable stuff for your family, for your state, for your, I don't know, house or flat. Just keep going and be motivated with some bigger goals that you have. So just try to make some motivation in each step that you're doing, because during this like 2 last weeks, I just had some really bad situation with my friend on the front line, and they changed my perspective of you and my life at all. So now I'm trying to do all my best to do something valuable, to do something important, and not to have some wasting time on some TikTok, but just volunteering, helping somebody, feeding some dog on the street, but doing something great, because we don't know how much time we have really. And I am having some, I don't know, bad thoughts sometimes, because we're living in Ukraine and nobody knows what's going on tomorrow or today or in 1 hour. So really, just don't waste your time, because now time is the most valuable thing that we have. I will suppose stop on this, and everybody can continue thinking about these words at your own, and put in some, I don't know, value in these words from your perspective. But yeah, this is my just advice for you, to not just waste your time.
Thank you very much, Victoria, and thank you, Volodymyr. It has been a pleasure to be with you here, really. seeing your enthusiasm and your motivation. You're definitely the driving force behind those adaptations and changes and reforms in Ukraine. And I hope that you will all keep going. And of course, last but definitely not least, Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Героям слава. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much for
Really
inviting.
appreciate.
And thanks for being with us, and thanks to our listeners. So it was recorded, and I will spread it via EUROSTUDENT channels as well. So really keep strong, and I hope to see you one day back at the EUROSTUDENT Talks as well.
Sure.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye. Have a
Thank you
good
very
day.
much. Keeping in touch.
Yes. Bye-bye.